students. Today we are discussing conditionals or if sentences. Conditional sentences have two parts. They have the if clause and the main clause. The if clause can come either first or second. If means on the condition that. So everything depends on a condition. If I see him, I will give him the message. I will give him the message if I see him. Types of conditionals. There are 4 types of conditionals. We have 0 type, type 1, type 2, and type 3. Conditional 0 is formed using if plus present simple to make the if clause and the present simple to talk about the main clause. First conditional makes if plus present simple in the if clause and uses future simple, which could be will or going to complete the main clause. Second conditional is formed using if plus past simple to follow with a main clause formed by would and a main verb in infinitive or the base form. Type 3, third conditional, makes the if clause using if plus past perfect and would have plus a past participle to make the main clause. And it's worth mentioning one fact. The if clause can be either the first or the second part in the sentence without changing the meaning of the conditional sentence. Let's begin to explicate each type of conditionals. 0 conditional is formed using if plus present simple to form the if clause and present simple again to make the main clause. And using a 0 conditional, we are discussing a fact or something that is always true, a natural process, a common sense. As examples below show, we have if or when to form the if clause and a present simple main clause. If you freeze water, it becomes solid. But we can also say when you freeze water, it becomes solid because it's a process. We are not discussing a condition here. The same case in the second example. If demand for a product rises, its price rises too. When a demand for a product rises, its price rises too. So we need to mention for conditional 0, it is also possible to use when instead of if because it is not a real conditional sentence. Type 1 or first conditional. We have a formulation consisting of if plus present simple to make the if clause and to continue with a future form, future simple form, will or going to continue with the main clause. And regarding first conditional, we have a concept. First conditional sentence refers to a present or a future situation of high probability. In other words, a very likely situation. So, in the examples below, we see a situation here. I see them quite often. If I see them tomorrow, I will talk to them. Now we are talking about a possible future situation. Discussing about tomorrow, we have if I see them tomorrow. So everything depends from this condition. If I see them tomorrow, I will talk to them. So we have a main clause with a result based on a condition. The other example, we have a general statement here. She is always late. It's a fact. I will not let her in if she is late again. We have a main clause preceding the if clause. I will not let her in if she's late again. And it would not be wrong if we chose to say, if she is late again, I will not let her in. So we are just discussing the rule we mentioned earlier. The if clause can be the first or the second in the sentence without any change in the meaning. Conditional type 2. Second conditional is formed using if plus past simple to refer to an if clause and to continue with would plus infinitive in the main clause. It's worth mentioning that the infinitive is the base form of the main verb or the action verb. And when we are discussing second conditional sentences, we are referring to a present or a future situation of low probability, which means it's not very likely to happen, or a situation in present or the future with zero probability, or a hypothetical situation. Let's discuss the examples. We have the statement, I don't think anything will change. That's my opinion. But if anything changed, we would let you know. So if we go back to the if clause, if plus past simple form ed is not referring to a past tense. We are referring to an unreal situation. If anything changed, but it's not going to change, we would let you know. Another situation, I am not a lawyer. If I were a lawyer, I wouldn't take that case. So we have a hypothetical situation here. If I were a lawyer, I wouldn't take that case. As you can see, we have the if clause, a comma, and then we have the main clause with wouldn't plus the infinitive take. Conditional 3. We have a formulation of if plus past perfect simple to make the if clause, and would have plus a past participle of a main verb in the main clause. And we have a concept. We are referring to a past situation. A past situation which is contrary to reality, or it's too late, or we have a zero probability situation in the past. We have the examples. If I had known their number, but I didn't, I would have phoned them. Second example, nothing changed after you left. We have a real past situation. Nothing changed after you left. Now we have a third conditional statement. If anything had changed, but it didn't, we would have let you know. I would like to discuss the main clause. If I make a comparison with the form here, so we explained earlier, we have the if plus past simple, actually past perfect simple in the if clause, followed with a would have plus past participle. And the past participle of the main verb in the main clause here is phoned, because phone is a regular verb. But on the second example, would have is followed by an irregular verb, and the past participle of this irregular verb is let. Let's sum up. So, conditionals are found in 4 forms. We have type 0, type 1, 2, and 3. The example regarding 0 type, we have if they study hard, they pass the exam. So, general reference. If they study, they pass the exam. Type 1. If they study hard, they will pass the exam. This is still possible to happen. Huh? It is likely to happen. If they studied hard, they would pass the exam. They don't study hard. We are discussing a present or a future situation. Now, they don't study hard, and this is not likely to happen. And the last, but not the least, if they had studied hard, a past situation. If they had studied hard, they would have passed the exam, which means they didn't study hard, so they didn't pass the exam. Thank you for listening.